Inside the NBA is not done, but Inside the NBA is done on TNT. They did their final broadcast on Saturday night. It was very, very, very emotional. I can't imagine. Like, I've done a little work with those folks, man. It's a different kind of vibe down there. I could totally see how hard this would be for a lot of people. Like Ernie Johnson's like, I've been working for this company since 1989, a company that his dad worked for before. Because those of you who don't, you're a little too young for this, us Braves fans know this. That's Ernie Johnson Jr. Ernie Johnson Sr. used to call the Braves games with Skip Carey and all them boys, right? And so it was a thing, and they did their sign off. And also, Ryan, I don't know if you saw it, but it felt almost like a wrestling shoot when they were talking about their arrival at ESPN. They sounded like what if the NWO had done advanced promotion?
Yeah, it was. It is very bizarre as they are again ending one chapter, but it doesn't feel like they're ending. It feels like they're moving.
Yes,
but they're also not thrilled about where they're going.
Well,
yeah,
no, they are. They got a vibe down there, right? And they want to, obviously, why would they want to have to make any changes? They're keeping this show together. I imagine most of the people that work on it are going to be there, but somebody's got to lose their jobs around this that they know with Turner losing the NBA, all of those things, right?
I think it's someone for me, I'm of course a little bit younger than you. I didn't really put together how long they've been together.
25. Charles has been there for 25 years.
25 years. K. Smith got there in 1998.
Yes.
And again, Shaq is the newbie, got there in 2011.
2011. Yes. Like this is a long-standing thing. So I get it. And they're coming to ESPN. Now everybody's freaking out because is ESPN going to mess up Inside the NBA? It is funny how people vacillate, by the way, between their love and hate for Inside the NBA, just depending on whatever circumstance the situation might be, right? I worked for ESPN in various capacities for the better part of about 20 years. Now, Ryan, you haven't done the ESPN stretch, right?
No, I've never worked.
Okay, you haven't done there, but you've worked in television. You've worked at Fox.
Yes.
Like you've worked at for real like TV shows. So
yes.
This is an important perspective. Ryan and I have been texting about this a lot in the weekend because this is something that I think our whole industry is very curious to see how it ultimately goes, right? Also, you guys know I typically don't talk a lot about ESPN business because I just think it's a little weird, given.
I will say, while this is an inside media story, Inside the NBA is a cultural footprint.
Correct.
That exceeds our industry. Charles Barkley has been very famous for 40 years.
Yeah.
Shaq's been very famous for 40 years. And this is a show that, has been parodied on SNL multiple times.
No, this is a story. Like
it's a cultural institution.
Yeah, I think everybody gets that part, right? I think that we are fortunate, and I'm going to probably be more likely to talk I'll be more likely to talk about the things that I know about how that place runs than I typically am, because it's like, I think it's worthwhile to engage it at this point. I personally do not think that there's great potential for ESPN to mess this up. I don't think they really will. And the reason I don't think that they really will is I've been watching what they've done with McAfee, and McAfee was insistent on this. McAfee's doing the exact same show that he used to do. I see that they've managed to get some measure of compromise out of him, like some measure of team play. Like, Ryan, this is something about McAfee that I was shocked that nobody pointed out. One day he stopped wearing tank tops. Nobody made a thing about it. Like, the tank top had become the trademark or whatever. But finally, it sounds like somebody was like, dude, can you just put a shirt on?
I mean, yeah, like if you don't know, his deal is he legitimately licensed his show. So, ESPN has no creative control, no creative input, and people are hoping that is the same relationship that Inside the NBA and ESPN have.
But it is a licensing deal again, right?
Correct.
Like, this is like, that's what it is. ESPN, it's not like Inside the NBA is moving to Bristol, right? The same people are going to produce the show. They're just going to put it on ESPN. Okay. Now, they're like technical inside baseball questions. I saw Bill Simmons talk about this, and he makes a fair point. The structure of the commercial breaks is going to be very important because, to me, the reason that ESPN's NBA shows have not been that great, I've always felt there are two reasons why they have not been. Number one, I feel like ESPN treats basketball, they treat that show the same way they would treat a football broadcast. And these are different sports. They're different leagues. I think the viewers have different expectations of what they want. And so treating it like you would treat a show like NFL Live or something like that doesn't work. Number two, with their pregame stuff and halftime, they're trying to move so fast that, boom, boom, boom. You go, you talk, you talk, you talk, you talk, you talk. Like trying to get so much information in there that there's no time to kind of sit in whatever the topic happens to be. Okay. Inside the NBA is at its best when it sits in those topics. Is ESPN going to fundamentally structure the broadcast in the way that allows that? That's going to be the question. I don't know how much wiggle room Turner has in their production on being able to adjust that. My feeling on this, though, is if ESPN is going to get inside the NBA, they're foolish to get in there. Why anybody trying to make extra work out of this? You know what I mean? If you're going to let Pat McAfee do the exact same show that he did before he got on, and keep in mind, I don't think McAfee's show, I don't have anything bad to say about it, right? Like, it's not, I don't have a negative opinion of it. I don't have really fervent criticism of it. It's not my favorite show necessarily, right? But it's a show on television. But it's a show on television where he called Caitlin Clark a bitch once. And I want to be clear that he did not mean that negatively. He was actually intending to give her a compliment. But what I'm saying is, the show that ESPN licenses, Pat McAfee could call a woman a bitch in the middle of the afternoon. And ain't no suspension, ain't no none of that. They've just put that show on. And I could be wrong here. You guys let me know. Maybe I'm crazy. But I feel pretty confident that if you will give that kind of rope to Pat McAfee, you'll give it to Charles Barkley. Okay? Call me silly, right? Maybe I am incredibly naive about what it is. But that is what I think is going to happen. The inside guys aren't really risky. The thing about Charles is there's no telling what he might say. The thing with McAfee is there's no telling what he might do. And they've managed to deal with that situation as they have. With Charles, he just going to say something crazy every now and then. He might say something crazy about you. But lucky for you, the world has decided that we don't get mad about anything that Charles Barkley says. So no big deal.
You mentioned the Bill Simmons. I was listening to that in front of the show. Van Lathan brought up that is inside the NBA is one of the few places left where we've decided that PC culture does not matter.
Yes.
Yeah. They have decided, Chuck's ability to say anything with a smile on his face.
Yes.
And with seemingly no repercussions is at some point a skill, right?
They have a cult. First of all, the culture is entirely built around Charles. When I went down there and I did that alt cast last year, it's I wore shorts on television. I'm getting roasted for hours on national television by people I don't know. And baby, I better learn to laugh. Because this is, and you know why? It's because they can do that to Charles Barkley with no warning every day, and he'll laugh at it every time.
He's an incredible, people love him on television because he's so authentic, but he has built the show not only at laughing at others, but laughing at himself.
Yes,
who he played for is a giant joke about Charles Barkley.
Did you ever? So, I, as someone who is not the best at laughing at himself, I just require you be funny. That's all. Charles is so good at it. And I don't know if you remember, because you're a bit younger, the first year of Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA.
That's before my time.
Buddy, the first year of Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA was my senior year of college. And it would be did you see what just happened? He would say anything. Robert Pack missed a game with abdominal cramps. And Ernie is reading that off. And Charles stops and says, abdominal cramps? Guys are missing games because they on their period now?
I mean, he's you see the clips going around about him making jokes about not buying women watches because there's a clock on the stove and stuff. Not full Archie Bunker level humor, but you certainly not. That's close.
That's close.
Yeah.
Year one, Charles Barkley was some of the amazing television, but it worked because with Charles, they did this thing called the Champions Club, right? And they set it up it was like a club, and they set it up in the set or whatever, and they had the Champions Club, and Kenny Smith goes in the Champions Club, and Charles Barkley tries to get in the Champions Club, and Kenny's like, whoa, Charles, you're not a champion, man. Only champions can get in the Champions Club. And Charles stops and says, Y'all played a joke on the Chuckster. You can't do this with anybody else, right? This is the nature of what they do. This is why it works. It's a show that works on vibes. But my feeling is that it worked on vibes, and the reasons why it could. Number one is because I don't think there are a lot of basketball fans that want a lot of hardcore analysis of their basketball. I think there's room for that. I don't know if pre, post, and halftime is really that. Like, if you really need
people can find that now.
People can find it.
If you want Zach Lowe's available to you.
Yes.
Like, and expecting inside the NBA to be that is unrealistic and not what they do best.
I think basketball is a fairly simple game, and I don't think that people need but so much of it. Now, could those guys be a little more prepared at times? That's a different discussion, right? But I don't think that people...
Does their criticism of the league hurt the league?
Right. I think those are fair points. Yeah. I think those are all fair points. But I think the show works on we're having a good time talking about basketball. I think that is enough for me. I think it's enough for most people. It's a fun show to watch. The other thing was ESPN is a sports network. TNT is a network that carried some sports. And so what they were working with on Inside the NBA was you could be a lot more loosey-goosey over there because the brand was a bit more loosey-goosey, right? This isn't Disney. This isn't all those things. So they could kick it a little more. The other part was once you got into postgame on Inside the NBA, this is late night television. Like, if you up at 1 o'clock in the morning watching them, it was like, it's almost like the closest thing to it was the NBC version of Letterman, right? Like, they doing basically stupid human tricks over there. They talk about anything, no telling where it might go. They just decided they were going to have a good time, and that's why it worked. My concern about taking Inside to ESPN historically has not done post-game shows. It's just not what they do, right? They go straight into SportsCenter. They don't do post-game shows. If you're not going to do the Inside the NBA post-game show, you're getting rid of the best part of it, right? This doesn't seem like it'll be a gratifying experience if that's what you're going to do. But they also can't put that on ABC doing that stuff. That would be preposterous. That's, to me, the concern. ESPN, I don't think is going to mess it up just they're going to get in there and tinker with it. I don't know if the structure of the network allows for what is the best part of the show. That is where I'm worried, right? But I will tell you this last thing why I do not believe that ESPN can mess it up, okay? You can get Charles Barkley on board with what you're doing, but you cannot tell him what to do. He is the single most valuable and important person in the history of sports media. Hey, don't forget, Inside the NBA existed for like 5 years before Charles, and you don't remember nothing about that. He showed up, and nothing was the same. Everything they do down there is based around the personality of Charles. And we know Charles will get up here and say whatever it is he wants. And Charles got so much money, Charles don't need whatever they're giving him. You know what I mean?
He will say, and Charles Barkley very famously, does lots of interviews.
Yes.
So if he is unhappy,
yes,
we will hear about it the next day.
Yeah, you'll hear about it on your own network. Because that's another standard that McAfee has established. Like, I could bring my workplace grievances onto the show. Granted, Charles would do it anyway, but you could go ahead and do this. I spent the better part of Sunday watching the clips that people put online of the best moments of Inside the NBA. It is so funny. Like, at its best,
it's they love each other. They can go any direction.
Yes.
And it's one of the few TV shows in sports. They're like, you do not know what is going to happen next. Like it is truly unexpected and authentic, and things from like the police presence thing.
Yes.
Just truly organic humor.
Incredible off-scripted humor. Well, scripted humor is very difficult, but all unscripted humor in the way they do it is tough. We give them some leeway because sometimes it misses badly. Sometimes Charles hits the side of the backboard, and we just make the decision that we're going to act like this never happened, right? Like, it can be super tricky, but oh my God, it's so much fun, right? Like, I think in the end, I looked at it and I was like, ESPN has never quite figured out fun. right? Like that kind of, and I say this as somebody who's been there. I think we had a good handle on it when we had, when I was working with Dan and his dad, right? Like we figured out a way to go in that direction. But it's hard to do sports and fun at the same time
It's
in the way
certainly
that
hard
they
to
do.
do sports and fun in 6 minutes.
Correct. But I think
it's sport.
Okay.
Yeah, fun is open-ended, loose. We can push this. We can keep going. We can take this bit out for another 8 minutes without having to run to commercial. Like fun, organic fun has to be that is their North Star at all times, and they're always chasing that, and nothing else matters.
I think they can come to a measure of peace, but trust, and I firmly believe this, and I haven't talked to Charles about this, but I believe this. But in the end, if ESPN try to go too far, those guys will tell them to fuck off. And they, if the McAfee situation is any indication, they will win.